Welcome. Today we're going to have a look at why do people that come from traditional jobs perform so poorly when they move over to trading. People who are otherwise very, very accomplished in other careers and walks of life. Wow. Well, the reality is when they're coming from those careers, they're coming from left brain thinking. What I mean by that is that rational part of the brain that's responsible for rational thinking, problem solving, and that worked very well for them in another time, in another place, in another career. But the problem is when they come over to trading, things change just dramatically. You see, because a lot of these careers, they're used to, especially the alpha type personalities, are used to taking control, making things happen. Yeah, when it comes to trading, that is going to work as a nemesis for their success. See, in trading, patience is required. Clear thinking is required. And a trader needs to be able to embrace the uncertainty of each trade that they place on their portfolios, not knowing whether that particular one is going to be a winner or a loser. But if they follow their process, then they should be able to come out net profitable. And so this is the big thing that we've got to consider. When they're coming over from those careers, they're not aware of this problem. And so they bring this attitude into trading where they're trying to make things happen, where they're trying to control things, and it falls apart. That's why you see alpha type personalities getting into trading and being absolutely whacked around by the markets. Okay? And then eventually what some people realize is that they miss that control that they used to have in their corporate careers. Some people even discover this and say trading is not for them. They want to have control. They want to make things happen. And the big difference is they're two different worlds. Trading is more, so you've got the Newtonian side, and that was probably what the corporate careers would best resemble. But when coming over to trading, it's more like quantum physics, where possibilities exist, but nothing is there in the absolute way or the sense of knowing that it's going to be. Completely different worlds. Okay? So if someone is coming from those traditional careers, they better be prepared to learn what it is to be a trader. A job of a trader is to take risk and to see if past patterns repeat themselves, as they have. Okay? So that is the job of a trader. And so many jump into it thinking that they're just going to pick up a strategy, they're just going to learn some new trick, and they're going to be on their way to easy street. No, the brain doesn't work like that. And no matter what type of hocus pocus you try to bring, it's not going to work until you recognize that it is the brain that has to change. And that's profound. And so if you get this and you're saying, okay, what do I do? Well, the first step is awareness. And then you have to be able to literally retrain the way you think about uncertainty. And you have to recognize that uncertainty is the rule. Okay? There is no escaping uncertainty. Every single trade has an uncertain outcome. We do not know what is going to happen. And that's hard. That is a very, very difficult thing for people to get over and to understand. I'll give you an example. Think about a situation where you're driving your car and you park your car somewhere, and then at the end of the day you come and you see you've got a ticket, a fine. So the fine may be whatever, it could be, I don't know, 50 quid, 75 quid, 100 quid, something like that, 100 pounds, okay? What's happening in the brain is it's immediately triggering to vulnerability, and you're thinking that what happens if I don't pay this fine? Is it going to get bigger? Is it going to get larger? And you get into almost this kind of a panic mode. Have you ever had that? Okay. So the best comparison is that. And then you think, okay, what can I do to alleviate this pressure? Maybe I pay the fine now. What happens if I don't pay it? There's capital at risk and uncertainty. But in that example, you've pretty much got a loss on your hands, and there's uncertainty about whether it's going to be a bigger loss when it comes to the ticket situation. Now imagine you're taking a position in trading, you're risking £200 or £300, and you don't know whether you're going to win that trade or lose that trade. To an untrained mind, it's going to trip switch into the fight-flight response, and you're going to be toast. Okay? So the key part is being aware of that problem and being aware of our genetic predisposition to uncertainty when it comes to capital at risk. Because it's at that moment where you've got capital at risk, you need to make a very important decision. What are you going to do? Most traders, when they're sitting there in front of their charts, they are overly emotionally invested in that trade, and they're hoping that it's going to be a winner. That's what's going through their mind. And so when the trade isn't, or turns out to be a loss, they are baffled, they feel betrayed, and they go through enormous amounts of emotional pain. And then what this does is it creates stress and trauma that stays with them, and they hold on to that trauma and they transfer it over to the next trade that they're taking. Okay? So I hope you got that. It's people coming from these everyday jobs, failing disastrously in that, and we can see some of the reasons why. Okay? So it all comes down to the brain and how it is engaging uncertainty. That is the key. Is it going to be easy to train the brain? No. Your brain has been developed over millions and millions of years to view uncertainty as a threat to its very existence and survival. So what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to change that link from the brain triggering from uncertainty to fear, okay, to one where you are embracing the uncertainty of the moment. Okay, hope you enjoyed this one and have a wonderful day.